than by bloodshed? Do the gods make known their will?
Good. Let's cut it.
Going to this, I knew that it would be super visual effects heavy. And I don't think there is one frame in this movie that isn't touched by visual effects in some ways. Through the sort of post-production process of working on the visual effects, working on the CGI, we started to fine-tune and hone the look.
We started out doing renditions of what an underwater environment would look like. And we had to really leverage other aspects that will be visual cues to the audience that we are indeed underwater.
Just trying to go, okay, at what point does this look like water? And one of the things we found through our discovery process is we constantly need just particles floating particulates.
So we always have this particulate in our water volume. And you'll notice that as the characters move through the water volumes, that particulate moves around them and it moves with them.
That really helped to remind the audience that they're underwater. And of course, the flowing hair really helps that.
One of the most important visual cues for underwater was what we did with the hair. I mean, we knew going into this that the hair was going to be difficult, but I don't think anyone appreciated how difficult it was going to be. In an underwater environment, all the hair just sort of tends to do its own thing, and this created for incredible computational hurdles to overcome. ILM actually rewrote their software trying to design this. I mean, there's over 500 shots in the movie where we had to add hair to our characters.
What's the plan again?
Plan is to not get killed.
Very early on in the process, James and I had a long discussion about how we're going to be dealing with talking underwater.
Wait, you can talk underwater? Hey, I can talk underwater too! This is awesome!
And what we wound up doing was thinking about how we talk. We make sounds by exhaling air over our vocal cords. So they have adapted their vocal cords to make noise when water is passed over them. When they exhale water, they make sounds the same way we do when we talk through the air.
Oh, we can do more than just talk.
So everything visual would start from the seed of the story concept. When you know your characters really well, when you know your world really well, it makes it easier for you to kind of visually design the world.
Biggest environment they created was the city of Atlantis. VFX artists created over 200 different types of buildings, including the iconic jellyfish buildings. Districts were made covering almost 600 square miles and containing over 7,000 buildings. Over 150,000 ships built from designs from the art department and modified to work in 3D were used to fill the traffic lanes into Atlantis. Sea creatures such as dolphins and whales, and marine vegetation, and coral were added to help anchor this fantasy world to reality. With such a big city full of colourful lights, organic materials, and translucent materials, the biggest challenge was to render it all. The trench creatures required multiple levels of simulations. The first step was to create a full-body muscle simulation where the artists could adjust the stretching and bulging of the muscles whilst still remaining fully dynamic. The second was simulating the fat and tissue. Next was a skin simulation, and lastly, they simulated the fins and spines. Due to a large number of secondary trench creatures, they had to optimize their workflow so that the creature VFX artists could simulate any number of creatures at the same time. However, Hero Trench had full skin and muscle simulations, customized for each shot. As with most complicated shots, rendering is always a worry. The average shot during the trench attack had up to 60 high-resolution creatures, all with muscle and fin simulations, in addition to thousands of creatures in the water and a huge ocean simulation. Where even the impacts of raindrops were 3D. The team were conscious of this potential rendering problem from the start, and so kept efficiency in mind when building their assets. The creature effects team created very fast and stable simulation setups for the muscles and fins. The Flowline team also optimized simulation times and data usage for water simulations, and the lighting team brought it all together using Scanline's custom procedural rendering pipeline, ensuring fast rendering and minimal possible memory consumption. The director wanted colour, contrast and clarity in the water, but with strong light and shadow, so the VFX teams developed tools to do accurate colour attenuation and light diffusion, including a control curve to control how fast the attenuation built up. They also added moving vegetation, flowering caustics, strong light rays, bloom on light sources, bubbles and particle passes to sell the underwater feel. The actors were also shot dry for wet. The actors performed on gimbal rigs to simulate underwater movement. The VFX team used as much of these performances as possible, in some cases replacing an actor's limb, in others the whole body. For this, they had custom rigs which allowed the animators to keep the actors' faces locked, whilst they worked on adjusting the body movement. In some of the more extreme action scenes, a full digi-double was used. Early on, they knew that they couldn't just have the Atlanteans moving in the water the way humans do. The Atlanteans existed underwater, it was their medium, and so it was only natural for them to move freely within their medium. However, by exaggerating and enhancing the Atlanteans' movements, there was always a danger of making them look as though they were in zero gravity rather than underwater. To maintain the illusion of every direction or velocity change a character was to make, they added a counter movement for limbs, making it look as though they were pushing off something.